Welcome back, everybody. Our final day of this Super Week continues. We already started off with a huge surprise, but now the attention turns to another side of the standings list here at EUL. Ence, they gained a point. However, Virtus.Pro surprised everybody. They can earn 3 points today, but Ence can save themselves and get into the top 6 at the end of this week. Welcome back to the desk. I'm Milosh. With me are Fresh and my buddy Alfama. How about we have a chat of these squads? First of all, starting with Ence, Jack.
Yeah, this team's doing it rough at the minute, Milosh, and I don't really know how else to say it.
It's the weakest team.
Every player is below expected player score. I think I said yesterday, this is the damning bit that I will take from yesterday. It feels like Lem's on his own and the other 4 guys on their own. It doesn't look like a team. It doesn't look like a coherent unit. Something's got to give at some point, and these guys have got to show us. Because in stage 1, they showed us some quality that they could make a run, and they're not showing it so far in stage 2.
There was some novelty in the way they came into tier 1. I know there was a lot of experiencing things around and changing things and having a 6-man roster, but at least there were a glimpse of hope.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm still struggling to see that from them. And it's not a question of quality. Let me tell you, these guys, they're good players, and they understand the game. They have a good vision. Skies are anticipating him to be the second best Liquefact, kinda like a great IGL coming from France with a great vision for the game, an ability to frag. These guys, they have potential. LMs has shown plenty of time that he has.
He's won a major.
He's won a major. He's been on BDS and won so many stuff. So I'm expecting them to do better. But I have a concrete example of what I mean.
Let's visualize.
Let's visualize what I mean by it went wrong with them. A stage ago, they were able to problem solve things really quickly, right? Even with a 6-man roster, even with changing players, they were able to problem solve something. Now look at the time. Look at the time here. We're speaking of opening Snowmobile Garage. And let me tell you, even if I played in rank with Milosh right now, I know he would do that quicker than them.
What?
And that's the biggest thing here. It took them an entire minute to clear Snowmobile. 20 seconds left in the round, look at them rushing in. Like headless chickens onto the bomb site without any utility. No flashes, no nothing. That flash gets him killed anyway. No trade from Azox, just baiting the thermite. NLM's by himself upstairs, lurking, not helping the core.
Yeah, that's the thing. The things that you're used to seeing any pro team do, it's taking Ence like a minute longer than any pro team would take. Like, I could grow a mustache. That's how long it's taking Ence to, do simple tasks. And I can't grow a mustache at all, Milosh.
Or Milosh could open Snowmobile on Garage.
Yeah, true. That was a better example.
That was a free
Why
shot
am I
at you.
getting shots at the end of this?
You didn't see that coming, did you?
No, absolutely not. Look, hey, if Ace can learn to do it, I can learn how to do it.
No, but that's the real story here for me is how did it come that they'd spend an entire minute to open a single reinforced wall when a stage ago they would do these kind of things way quicker? That's my biggest thing. They need to find that chemistry again.
Well, let's talk about VP because it seems like a lot of this conversation could also have been had about VP, and we indeed did do it also about how they are playing, how they need a revolution in their gameplay, but they're on the board. They're in the top 6 now.
So they're starting to win again. Is it really that chemistry that's back, Jack? I don't really think so. I don't think we're seeing them at the level that they were at SI 2024.
Didn't see it on their face last night.
And even in the interview, Joystick said, like, guys, listen, we have a lot of problems. He's just straight off a win, and he's really honest about it. They are not at the level that where they should be. And it's for many reasons, right? It's because of the map pool. It's because of their inability to adapt to meta operators. What do they need to do to change this? It's crazy.
I think these are the one redeeming factor for me. They've faced these problems time and time and time again, and then suddenly they do pop up at an event and they go really far. Yep. They are able to work through them. That's what we've seen time and time again. But this looks like, even though they won yesterday, fair enough, it looks like a huge rut that they're still in.
So if I have to work through their problems, obviously there's the map pool. That's a tough one. It's crazy because they had a long off-season. I still can't believe they didn't work on that, or they don't have a bigger map pool. But it's too late. You're in the middle of the season, you cannot problem solve that. Now, one thing you can problem solve, and that's quite recurrent for them, is their roam clear. I actually have an example on Contract from them game yesterday when they're trying to roam clear creeds, I think, in admin. So look at the time right now. It's been 2 minutes in the round, and they're still roam clear that player in admin. They have demos, they have Tokaibi. They spend that utility, they eventually get the pick, great, and boom, there goes the roam clear. It's a 4v3, so they expected to get that kill. They roam cleared for 2 minutes. The bomb site is basement, by the way.
Yep.
2 minutes in, they finally roam clear it, and they die. They don't even have the man advantage.
The meta at the minute is being unpredictable and being explosive. And VP are not either of those things.
No.
Way
Like
too
you say,
slow.
way too slow, roam clear, boom, gone. And it takes 2 minutes away from the round. They need to speed up. They need to get better. And they know this as well.
The problem is that they've always been that way, but they were so good at executing every minute pieces that even though you knew you could time every single move that they would do, you still weren't able to take them down. However, that's not the case no more.
It was a well-oiled machine. From playing against them, the most simple stuff, even the hard stuff, we would throw at them very complex roam setups. They would clear it very quickly. That's something that we don't see anymore, even though the defense is way, way easier.
Now let's take a look at our map bans and our singular pick as well here. We'll go to Border again, Jack.
Yeah, so in a weird sense, I kind of expected Cafe or Border. Obviously, we talk about VP. They will ban away their new maps. And then I think Ence have started banning away the maps that they've clearly been having issues with themselves, which basically left 2 maps in my mind that were middle-of-the-road maps that both of these teams would play, Cafe or Border. Now, I thought that VP probably would have preferred a Cafe, personally. I think Ence have got a bit of an advantage just because Border doesn't really feel like a VP map.
Yeah, that's the real story for me here, is that in that last moment where they could choose towards Cafe, I know why Ence banned it, because if you have to remember 2 maps that VP still plays well, it's Bank and it's Cafe. So obviously don't want to take them there. You go to Border. Now that's a map that will simplify things for Virtus.Pro in attack, because it's a really small map and you can play grouped. On another story though, like you just said right now, what we've just seen from Secret, you can play all kinds of cheesy operators to play on Border. And that's what exactly VP despise, and they don't know how to counter. We just saw double shields.
Yeah.
And that's a map where
Imagine
double
them
shields
having to play against that.
That's the biggest story for me, is that Border, you can play a lot of cheesy ops that VP hates to play against.
All right. Then, Leo, Jack, how about we have a chat with our wonderful casters? There it is. Fluke and Hap. Look, I'm looking at you for this one here. You get Border for the second time. Do you think there'll be like big changes in how this is played versus game one?
Considering both these teams have had an issue with the speed that they execute and how thin this map is, I mean, it should theoretically like try and nullify some of that effect. Like maybe we will see them be a bit quicker. I don't know. It's hard to call for me.
Double shields, Fluke. I mean, we're talking about it. We saw it in the last game, and you casted over it. That's something that would scare VP.
Yeah, I mean, it was a point of your conversation as well. When we got a VP win, you asked, oh, is the multi-ban going to be the sort of setup ban? Is that going to be what you sort of stop? And they said, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to give too much away. It's something that we're dealing with. So I guess we get the second part to that interview you had with them today of seeing if it's something they continue on.
I was watching OST today, and there was a Monty and Blitz ban in the same game. So there's something that could change up. Maybe we'll see it here, but we'll have to see it with you guys. Fluke, Hap, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Milos. And we will back to Border, back to probably a different pace of game as we go from the top of the board down towards the teams fighting at the bottom, Hap.
Yeah, for sure. And given the fact that VP has just had a victory, though, that might mean that, they're able to build a little bit of confidence, a little bit of momentum, which on the end side of things might not really be there yet. I was speaking to their coach, and they said, I'm afraid we are stuck in a bit of a vicious cycle right now after the opening loss they had against Secret. And they're trying to get out of it, especially with the Lems being added to the roster, it is a bit of a tough adaptation bringing him in as an IGL from a different team. So they're like trying to find a new identity, whilst also trying to break out of the losing spiral that they're in.
Well, the Monty's gone. There's at least one of those questions off. Grim taken out of the play here of Virtus.Pro. Valkyrie, fair enough. She was even more terrifying once upon a time. Obviously, the map that she was introduced with was the original Border. When you could throw the cams outside and you had one more, honestly, what were we thinking back then?
I imagine all these like crazy Valkyrie spots that, hit the YouTube on where you would be able to toss it out if you lined it up from the inside. And
the one I used to love doing was out of supply window, up above you, right above the sort of double door, sort of front door, and then you just wait, and you just wait, and then you just spray through the soft, and every single time it would get people. Every single time. Memories.
of course. It's hard because everybody's so focused in on like all the default cams, and the Valkyrie cameras can be everywhere. So at least they've been limited to insight now, which have given the attackers a bit of an easier time actually approaching and entering the building in that case. IQ was a way more important pick in that time as well. A lot of bot reviews being done specifically to find those Valkyrie cameras as well.
Camera ready to activate.
So, last time we were here, just a moment ago, and Secret were able to pull off what, you know, an underdog story. Here, the pressure is on Ence, I think it's fair to say, which is kind of weird. Because in this showdown between these two orgs, at least, obviously one of them has gone through roster changes, Virtus.Pro hasn't for a while. I believe it is 5-0 in Ence's favor of map score across this year.
Yeah, that's correct. They haven't been beaten yet by Virtus.Pro over the last 12 months. And that's, of course, actually 6 months. We'll clarify to that because that's when they entered the Tier 1 scene. However, of course, a change was made, considering that, as Ence has been added to the team. So a different style of leading potentially to come through. I mentioned it before, trying to find their new identity. So this might be the opportunity for Virtus.Pro to stop that streak and get themselves that first map win against Ence for the year.
Now, this first taste, as you said, the pace will be something that needs to be delivered by these two teams. It's something they've both struggled with in what is quite fast-moving meta, quite fast-moving positions. This is the fastest-moving map. So it might offer at least a little bit of space and a breath of fresh air here. And as they start their attempted climb towards at least the middle of the table before eyes on the top. They have some eyes on the player back inside office, watching towards the top of East Stairs. A lot of utility is being burnt here to try and get their way in, and it's a trade is the result. Dan and Rykos find one apiece, and it gets them at least boots in the ground, but they're not really sure about it. Always knocks Rykos right out. There's some pressure on towards break, more utility, another E1D. They're holding against the fight itself. Everybody's suffering. Nothing is coming clean here.
No, it's just being skirmished out here by the side of Always. Actually gets the injure. This guy's not being able to support in time. Will eventually find the kill. And that should put them back onto equal numbers as Azox is going to be picked up. But just even that first one on Rykos, that should have been a double swing to come through. Someone should have pushed break room. Someone should have pushed that balcony. And that way you would have been able to make sure there was just a clean one-on-one trade, if any trade, for that given matter. Because now you've just lost a player, and you've just almost lost the second one who's quite low. Plus, Skies is down to 29 HP. And there's still a bunch of mirror windows out there that you will have to challenge if you want to go through either the long hallway or if you want to go through the breach. So they're forced into the Archives kind of plant right now, but they don't, as you see right here, they're pushing for the main breach, and two of them are super low.
At this point, 20 seconds, the Warriors time, and they've got to see if they can try and make any use of it. They cover off at least the entrance onto the mirror window, but they still can't really be taking the fights on the opposite side in this, because you've got 10 seconds. You have to break your way through onto the site. Dan locks it off. At this point, you're just forcing your way through the final doors. Alems is inside, 2 versus 1 with 2 seconds, and there's the pickup. You just have to get the last player. Time is that cruel mistress we worried about today, Hap.
Yeah, for sure. I thought maybe, you know, because it is such a paper-thin map, we might not really have that issue, but time again running out here. But it was a late call to come through. Lems in his own was going with the diffuser in office, whereas you had the 2 players pushing the armory balcony for just a little bit, then deciding to rotate all the way around. Rotating can get you killed to some extent, like especially when you don't have the time. It forces you to be quicker, to start making mistakes potentially. And VP locking it off here as they needed to do, but it's not a clean round from them either. Always here, being left alive for way too long. He's been allowed to challenge 3 individual players. Managed to get 1 down, 1 kill, then 1 to near death.
It's early. I think that's always the fairest thing to sort of talk about right now. You're looking at them getting a taste of each other, and it's that strange comparison because obviously you've talked to the coach of Ence to Akhtar about the changing of the guard, because you bring in an experienced player like Ence that they highlighted on the desk, has won major trophies, has been around the game for what is generally quite a new to Tier 1 and a young roster. It will always have big sort of structural changes.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I was also asking, it's like, you know, what is Ence being brought in for? And it was just for consistency amongst the young and inexperienced players that they have. Like, a lot of people forget that Ence, they've only been in Pro League for 6 months, but for that period of time, they've had a 3-month off period. So only really 3 months of experience so far with a long break in there. So, you know, they need that time to build up. They did get in here. They did manage to at least make some waves happen, but they're trying to make it more consistently, well, probably for the next year.
A quick tech pause. We'll hopefully be through in just a moment. Better now than when the momentum has built up into a game. The fact that we have had the top team, and I don't want to give false hope to fans. I don't want people to be like, it's possible. Anything is possible. Dream your dreams. But when the top team on the board loses, you get a little bit more extra. If they had won today, you know, BDS thrown up on 17 or so points, I believe locks a lot of these teams out from ever catching them based on how many play days are left. I think it's about 12 play days. 12 points. Sorry. It's 12 or it's 15. I can't quite remember which side of the tipping scale we are on. After today is 9. Today included is 12.
Yeah.
It suddenly becomes a lot more feasible when those top teams lose. When you've still got, obviously, you know, not everyone ahead of you has yet to play. Wolves won't be today. They are the team that has taken the break. So you're still looking at the chance of the divide not being too big. G2, they might not be able to secure it. They're coming off the back of a loss. Who knows how their day will go? Suddenly that, you know, if that distance that, say, Ence is sitting on, they get to 4, they're only a game and a half short of 2 as ostensibly in 4th place currently.
Yeah, last stage, 10 points was the cutoff point. You know, if you had 10 points, you didn't make it over towards the closed playoffs. The team that actually reached out was Ence, 1 point behind on G2. For those top 2 positions, it was Secret with 16, taking the 2nd spot in the league at that point. So, yeah, BDS, like, potentially 2 points away from locking themselves off in, like, a top 2 position. Of course, that changes if the bottom 3 teams get a lot less points together, which means that, you know, the upper teams, you know, top 6 are getting a lot more points in general. But, you know, that's what we were looking at. That's what happened last season. So if you're already on like 14 points as BDS, you're probably, you know, already, you know, pretty sure to go towards the playoffs. It's just what seed they're going for. For a team like Ence, I mean, if they don't pick up points today, they're on 1 still, and then having the opportunity to go for, what is it, like 9 more? Actually, no, because they have a break day as well, I think, still coming up. So 6 more points after that, which would put them in 5th place now. So the points today are desperately needed.
Tension music. It was a start here. Virtus.Pro were able to, obviously on Consulate, get themselves the win against I2B yesterday, and they started on the back foot. I think it was about 4-2 before VP mounted a massive comeback on their defensive side. They got a couple of attack, and whether that's a drive potential here of this team, where I think Ence, I'm not entirely sure what their exact split between attack and defense success is. I think it's a little bit more balanced.
Ence is currently 40% defense win and 27% attack win.
Okay. Not as balanced then.
No, I mean, it's, yeah. It's like a, how am I going to spin this? Yeah,
positively.
no, it's not balanced.
Oh.
It's not balanced.
Well,
The defense is definitely favored.
at least they have that to look forward to then. Even on a map like Border. We're back in. Much quicker than before, thankfully, as we find ourselves dropping down a floor, heading down towards Vent and Workshop, and seeing if they can maybe get that classic rotation of sites together. Now, you assume attackers will have a good bite out of the defense. If Virtus.Pro can get this and then get themselves looking positive on the third, I could imagine a timeout being called quite soon. Obviously, that's 2 rounds in the future. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But there was a timeout, so I had a lot of time to think, you know? Not a tech timeout.
So did the players. They also had a lot of time to think, but they couldn't top. But again, as we get going again, the point you make is still very valid, though. If these next 2 rounds go away from Ence, it's a complete rotation. It's a perfect time to call a timeout, because we've just seen every single site they're probably going to go back to. But of course, they prefer to just take these rounds now, not wait until the 3rd one has passed and lost that one as well. You need to put these kills and rounds on the board. What we saw in the last round is that they were kind of taking the fights one by one. Not really working together. They should be pushing together in those instances. Either Salon droning you in, or just, you know, taking the fight and squishing a person out of his stronghold position together, rather than giving him 3 1v1 separately and almost letting him get away with it. And I'm looking at Always there. Good use of the Bravo drone, instantly taking down some of the AFNATs and other utility. He knows about the player that is on top of the hatch inside of office before he loses his drone. So that's 2 players spotted and a bunch of utility that has been taken out. Sadly, no one there to really follow up on it, though. And as a minute has passed, they're finding themselves in a gunfight, and there you go. Joystick drops. A very clean kill to come through from Ence.
Very different to how it was in the previous round as well, where everything was traded, everything was messy, I think is the fairest way of putting it, across both teams. Nobody had a real handle on the engagements. Obviously, Virtus.Pro came out the top, but with Always getting that swing round, catching Rykos before Skies forces the motion there. A single second could have been the difference on towards that kill. They're trying to keep the pressure up. Pasha's above the hatch, holding and waiting for the spray. Finds a Lem's great take and takes that moment to rotate down. Keeps that balance in their favor. They may have lost the first, but they have chewed their way back through Ence.
Yeah, on the fallback there, on the fadeaway through the hatch, finds the second kill. It's important, brings them back in that man advantage and allows them to play it more horizontally now. And even though top floor has been really taken by Ence, there's nothing there that gives them the opportunity to play this vertically. No way that they can open up any of these, you know, vertical holes. Yes, they do have a Selma charge left. Yes, they do have the 417 DMR, but that one is playing on the main door. You know, that Selma's also not great at opening up angles too much. They're gonna have to try and find a different way. Neko does stay up top, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, 30 seconds left, and they've left 1 player above. You have to hold on to the vertical, but they also have to have some cover for the planter down here. The Capitao is making some motions happen, not forcing them with the fire, but they drop. Neko doesn't sit around. Goes instead, tries to find it, always gets the trade out. They've handed vertical over. They lose 1 more body. It is just Skies, but not for a huge amount of time later. Virtus.Pro sat, waited, and just let them go. Yeah, there's a bit of territory. We'll try. Oh, they've closed down on us.
It was a great call from Neko to just jump down and get that kill and open up for his team, but Virtus.Pro also not waiting around, instantly going for the aggressive swing out there and shutting him down before he does any more damage. Kind of ruins the entire plan that might have been there in terms of going for the plant. Well, the smokes were down, but they also knew that, you know, that smoke covers the defenders. They could have moved through it. Could have actually gotten the kill. Eventually the shutdown was there. Again, great tenacity there from Virtus.Pro after this first kill from Rykos, which of course came in from the actual Bravo drone. They got the information. You saw the instant reply on it. But then the 2 kills to come in favor of Virtus.Pro from Always and Pasha. Definitely making sure they managed to get back into it. And well, prevent that plant from even going down.
2 in a row, and I still stand by what I said before. If this one goes away, I can imagine Ence we'll have to have a bit of a conversation about how things can change, mainly because of the pace as well, because it's strange to say that it's not that it would break momentum. It's just no momentum has been built here by the attackers. They haven't been able to get their teeth into the holes. They've been able to, you know, go from a scrappy first engagement to a clean first engagement. But even beyond that, it then starts to fall apart. They're missing that mid. It's that core of their progression in towards the map. And by the time that they've got that sorted, there's 10 seconds left and a bit of a huck it into sight.
It's a good drone there. We've seen it in the previous game as well. Just on top of the skylight, allows you to look down towards the bottom of East, towards the hallway, and to the top of East as well. So it basically puts you into awareness of a lot that's happening in that part of the map. Of course, the next part is to reply to it. Joystick gives away his position as he takes down the drone. See the instant smoke canister to come out. It's a bit of a premature move, but it's just to make sure that he isn't being followed up on by that drone that just rolled by, just to make sure that the aggression is tamed before it even starts.
Seeing if they can try and put this pressure here onto the position on East, but the drone reveals they've actually been able to slip their way out, hoping to find that loose thread on a player that is nothing more than a ghost. At this point, more and more utility being dedicated to just clearing their motion, and without anything rewarded at the end of it. I'm not going to say it's wasteful. Depends entirely what confidence they want to pick up, just whether they want to know if position's free or not, but they're not getting a result until they find that. Always drifts right into the gun of Azox, and that is the opening kill.
With time though, a minute left on the clock. They've only just started to take parts of the top floor, not those that matter yet though, and you know that's eventually where they will have to go to. See, currently sneaking around there. Okay, they do have control of office. The hatch is open. They can play around there. Pasha Shepard, however, running around inside of that ground floor, close towards the metal stairs, have the opportunity to rotate back up. And if they decide to go for the execute now with 40 seconds left, that might actually happen.
Well, they have to do something here. They have to sort of keep the pressure going. They're trying to force the players out, and there is one more. Nako finds Dan, finds that bit of revenge and response, and Pasha has to try and start moving his way closer. Offers some support. It's Joystick who's getting himself pockets of space with the smoke canisters. The roll of the nade isn't quite going to get the catch, but there's one apiece. Shepard and Pasha find them. Suddenly now, with a cold kit, they got to try and pick up the pieces, dropping into a hot firefight, and now tucked, hoping this is just enough space. Joystick wants to try and fight his way out, sprays through, stops the plant being confirmed, and at this point, Shepard just has to sit and wait and look for this traded kill. There's the catch. Can't make it though, Ence. Just hold on.
It was a great attempt stopping the plant out there. Unaware where the cover was, however, on that final couple of seconds. Maybe if he sprinted through, he would have gotten it, but at least that round is in pockets of Ence right now. Started off with that great entry as well, over the top floor. Then with a minute 15 left, taking control of everything. Things started to slowly go down south after a hatch drop and a window jump in. Both were taken down just seconds after they happened. They managed to stay strong, managed to keep it calm and bring it in. And now then the call comes, like, do you call that timeout? Because you form a round. However, it's also the attack. So you kind of want to win more than just a single round at this point.
Yeah. I think that's the sort of trade, right? Is they've got one, you can build on that. You can start to develop that and start to throw yourself in. The opening kill is still very late comparatively towards Border, but also, you know, if we just take the data of the game we just had, more than half of the rounds, the opening kill was in the opening minute. So far, none of them have been the case here. It's been almost halfway through the entire round itself. So, you know, that average of how Ence are getting in, or even what Virtus.Pro are offering them as an engagement, is much slower, and that is definitely playing in towards Virtus.Pro's favor and how they love to structure themselves across any map.
I think the average right now is at like 136 left on the clock, so a minute from now on is when that one would be coming through. And it is slow for Border, but as you just saw, definitely manageable if you manage to put the pace behind it right afterwards and start making things happen. Joystick very careful as he's droning around on that balcony. Nako managing to get some information, but I'm not sure if he's actually seen Joystick. As the smokes come out, there's a person on the side of the cam there, but it doesn't quite reach the blitz of Azox. Would have been very nice to just chip away some HP from the blitz, especially this early on in the round.
We almost had a bit of kill. We had some damage done, and there's the drop. It's finally a bit quicker, but it's Joystick gets the end of Rykos. Technically on some barbed wire, but the downing came from the bullets. Everything has fallen apart here on the top of East Stairs. The fact that the blitz wasn't the first one on an engagement. Not sure where they were trying to get the lockdown. They get the blind onto one, and they almost suffer on the end of it. Skies is there for some support. 2 versus 3 isn't impossible. You look at the health of the smoke, you look at the health of the Legion, but you also think about the gadgets those two have and how much they can eat away at the 2 people still trying to crack their way through onto site.
I think 2 or maybe 3 of the smoke canisters already have been used, however, so they shouldn't be too worried about Joystick anymore at this time. Legion, of course, it hurts, it stings, but it isn't the instant burst of damage that comes through, so you have the opportunity to move back out of the way. I say, as the blitz is about to take 2 ticks and almost go down from a goo mine. But these mirror windows are more painful because there's just no way they can challenge this with that Nitro to come through.
I mean, yeah, we know how much damage a Nitro does. It's not a tick. It's the boom. What is happening to Warden? Just went down to half. Somewhere else, Pasha, not sure what they suffered, but
My beauties are in place.
with 25 seconds left, a 1 versus 3, 1 bolt left. They can try and cover something, but with the mirror window there being watched, it's not going to be a lot. I'm still very curious what happened to Warden in that moment. I think we just heard a doorbell, or I'm going insane. At that point, obviously, they took a bit of a blow. Virtus.Pro, as I said before, that's the game that they're so comfortable being in and around. That's the idea of, yeah, we've got our setup. Let them test it. Let them taste us. You could see they were trying new things. And there was an argument that comes out of seeing the last border of how horrible shields can be. There, it was ineffectual. It was late to the party. It wasn't the front of the push app.
It wasn't, sorry, my doorbell went off indeed.
No, I know that. I heard it and I was like, what is that? And it took me a second to realize.
I forgot to turn off the wireless receiver.
Where is it in your computer? What is up with your setup?
It's in my room, but it's just very loud.
Wow.
Sorry, you were saying?
I hope that's not a copyright doorbell. Production would be fuming. Milosh as well.
I don't think so. It did have some other songs that were definitely copyrighted, but it specifically chose to not use those.
Great.
Anyway.
Here it was, the Blitz, as I said, you know, them being later to the punch in the party, what was sort of left. You look at the hold that still existed. Structurally, it was kind of untested, right?
It definitely was. The fights took place in places, you know, away from the site itself. And again, you know, that mirror window being up for so long where the final kill eventually came through or was assisted by it. It's kind of a testament to that because they weren't even able to deal with the mirror window yet at that moment because they were just so busy with other stuff at that time. So what I do, just bring the mirror again. I mean, playing downstairs, but you know, it's very effective at holding the top floor, so why not use it out there?
From the back of this, Ence, they still have that 1 round. They still have the opportunity here to shake things up. We saw a 3-3 half before where the team with the advantage fell away. Granted, it was on the opposite ends of attack and defense, but Ence statistically better on defense. If they can get themselves to that even point, there's still all the possibility that they can at least run this one to a further gone conclusion. Virtus.Pro in the meantime. It's almost that unstated thing of if it's not broken, don't change it. They're happy to still let them approach in. The Twitch getting some of the work done. The mirror window popped. They have eyes at least on Rykos' slow entrance, just guiding him towards break, hoping to get the shake on the CC player. It's always who I don't think quite knows how close they are getting. Rykos is now on the side, hidden behind the debris. Does he know how close the fight is? The E1D is going to make things a little bit easier. It's up and down and round and round, and always is the one still standing. Rykos, that should have been buried.
Not the trigger discipline at that point. He saw the head, instantly fired as he went back down. That gave away the game out there. So that gave the opportunity to always to respond if he would have just held a little bit longer, because surely he's watching the mirror window during an E1D. It would have been a cleaner kill to come through. But that's just a very painful way to start off this round, or right after like a timeout to come through.
I mean, it's just a bit horrifying, really. It's you know, it's one incident, it's one moment, but it is sort of paramount of the problems that Ence are having here. That confidence, that adaptability, all these sharp things we've paid this roster and this team and this org so many compliments on. They just can't seem to find that confidence anymore. They're the team that beat BDS in the first split, and now they're the team that might not beat anybody this time round. And with 30 seconds left and pretty much everyone still standing, I say, as Azox gets removed. You're looking at them trying to just desperately pick the pieces up, find a pocket of the site to get a plant down on. They've got one below, two above this time round. They're going to be a little bit more locked in on the verticality. Joystick is not going to fall for the same mistake twice as he looks up towards the hatch they dropped from last time. There's one for Skies. He's in. He's going to tuck himself and hope the cover comes through. Now Nako's outside the door itself. Alems gets one, and it's worked, but a little too late to the party. Skies pops up out of nowhere. He's able to get it all done in time. The shotgun gets the lock on. Now they just have to make sure they take this vertical fight together. Alem's hugely experienced, but so are Dan and Shepard. This fight relies on them making sure this is a trade situation. They have time, and the first one slips on by. There's the second. Perfectly played by the pair here, and who's going to be the first for the defuse? Bit of a race that Shepard wins out for the stats.
Surprised they didn't actually go for the team kill at that point. So no, it's mine. they raced for him. But a great round there coming in from VP. Just slightly late on actually cancelling the diffuser as well, as early on as they possibly could. But the right call to push for the top floor. Sometimes you see teams like hesitate a little bit. Like, do we have time? Or should we just send one person up and the other tries to bait with the defuse? Sending up both your players just doubles those chances, especially because, you know, the attacker out there, his only worry is that diffuser at that time. That's the main priority. So great retake to come through. And what started off as like a, well, not a happy little accident from Rykos when he's walking up under the E1D, misses the opportunity on Always, ends up in a near win for Ence if they only had that one man extra.
You almost look back towards that round there where Shepard almost clutched it out. It was the 1 versus 2. They're going for the plant on Armory. Were on the back foot and they were trying to rebuild into it. It would have been a huge clutch. But you know, he was pre-aiming towards the angle. He didn't sprint, whatever.
5 seconds left.
This time round, we saw the sprint motion across. We saw Alem's not able to secure that kill because of it. And then it was the 2 versus 1. They had the 2 different angles. And you think, if they had sprinted before, could this be a 5-0? Could this be even worse? You want to give Ence the benefit of the doubt. You want to say it's their round that they won, and they did win it. They were ahead, but now they have to almost prove it. Now we're back to here, the site of their only success so far. And we need to see if they can replicate it to buy confidence, because a 5-1 seems insurmountable. They're going with a bit of pace. Bit of a different application, a lot of noise, a lot of a bang. They're inside. They can't quite get the plant because of the goo mine. They're going to see if they can try and find a fight, but Alems loses out on the first, trying to fish for a blitz that gets downed and dropped. There's a C4 Claymore kill even onto Always. A 3 versus 3, almost lower. as Joystick tucks their way out of that, but the kit is caught off. It's in the middle of sight, buried. So at this point, with 2 minutes to play for Ence, how do you rebuild?
Try to go quick here. Didn't really work out. The blitz instantly as well, having to tuck in. Stuck on the goo mine, so having to pull that out, and that's how he actually died, because they managed to find defeat in that purpose. As a result, now in that 3v3, well, I mean, you don't have anything else left, right? Like, your plan A has failed. You've lost a lot of your utility. You lost that shield, which is a lot of pressure that you can build. All you really have left is the single smoke grenade with a glass, and Rykos on the Lion has been giving away a lot of his position out here, but might still have some EU1Ds left for a push.
Hoping the player drifts into shot. Nako knows exactly where they are, but the pressure of movement isn't on Dan here. Though the outlines are the same, I promise you they're on different teams. Skies is getting in that work. They just need to force Dan to move. They need to try and catch him before he's able to catch one of the two sat so patiently. How revealed does he think he is? I don't know. Now he definitely knows. He's going to try and lean back into the fight. Here's the glass popping behind him. The pistol is the lockdown, and they do get it. It was closer than it should have been. It took maybe longer than it could have done, but 40 seconds, still a lot of time.
A lot of verticality being held as well by VP. Joystick prone in the corner, waiting for someone to push in from the teller's windows. This could still be very much under control, especially with that verticality just taken out. A look at that, Pasha with a long angle. As soon as they fall through this, he should be having it, but the diffuser is still down, spots the player on that breach. He needs to not go too extensive right now. There's 14 seconds. They need to push him.
Well, they do. 14 seconds, though, and not a lot of time left to do it. They get the round. I'm a little bit more convinced, and we're going over to the other half. What was it you said, a 24% attacker win rate so far? We're technically in line
27,
with that.
yes.
27, we're in line with that. Now they got to see if they can try and drive it on the other side. At the same time, Virtus.Pro, I'm still going to sort of say it, momentum-wise, they haven't really been stressed yet. There is a lot more pressure on them to try and drive some of this energy onto their attack.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now they're also getting to set the pace. And I don't know if you saw, but I believe it was a tweet placed by Grant, and I think it was at the start of this week, but basically the teams that set the pace and do it the fastest have been the most successful so far over the 3 major leagues. And that is NAL, EU, and Brazil, of course. So if they are able to bring some speed here on the side of Order, I don't know, both these teams have had some struggle with time management. But again, this map is super thin. It's way easier to get some pocket plays out here. But if they manage to, you know, up their usual tempo, it might actually allow them to succeed here against Ence and basically try and lock this off as soon as possible.
We are still looking at, out of all the rounds we've seen, that average of first time, you know, that was a 1 rushed round, 1 quick play, but only 1 kill within that opening minute here. I'm still kind of hoping Virtus.Pro put that pressure on a bit earlier. And yeah, they're a let them cook team. They're a build up to it team. But it was one of the biggest strengths of Secret to take the surprise factor and get those engagements and force those players into these uncomfortable situations.
As we check, the first minute passed. Nothing really happening as of yet. VP just on repels, taking some shots at Nako. Unfortunately, the dog, however, it's the first tin that is gone. Still a lot more to be gained. Pasha sneaking in from break with the Deimos, hoping to find a first initial kill. He's not hunting someone, he can use the AK. Decided to go for the other one and actually gets blinded by the mute Gemmer as he hops over and Nako gets that free kill.
At this point now, a minute and a half left. They're seeing if they can try and get anything on the back of it. They don't need to be too forced out of position. Oh, just gets the mirror window on the second attempt through and past the side of the gate. now as they just patiently watch and wait their chance to spring, but the territory is still firmly in control here of the side of Ence. They're slowly forcing Nako out the door, but if there's no one to catch him on the back end, he might even be able to slip through the far side of the site. The line makes the rotate. There's the motion outside. They're free, they're clear, but they do lose one. Rykos caught out inside Fountain, 50 seconds left.
Still, not a lot of ground here, though, on the side of VP. Look at that always as well, 1 HP. I mean, what they're going to be doing at this point, they're just going to have to brute force themselves through because they have literally no control around the site. Where is this push even going to come through? Is it going to be on the armory side? It would be the most logical, I think.
Bit of a spray through there, 20 seconds left. There's the pressure and there's the blinds that come onto it. Now as they try and find this little pocket, they're going to see if they can tuck the plant close in. There's the motion, but Nako wins it out before taking the drop, and Ence get the lockdown elsewhere.
It's a very much necessary needed round. Like, they need to instantly start turning this around to avoid any doubts to come through at it. Finding them with the third, great. Need to get that fourth now to equalize the score. And from there on, you have the opportunity to build towards points, to build towards a win. And VP, they still have their time up. They can still call it. Probably not going to be doing it right away. Maybe after it's been equalized. Maybe if they lose a third round as well in this half. But they just weren't really anywhere. Again, like a minute left on the clock and they had CCTV. Nothing else. I mean, they were walking around in the hallway. But it doesn't really get you anything. Ence was playing that passively at that point. Also falling back towards the actual ground floor at the same time.
It's such a passive game. I think that's it, right? And that's the sort of point of it. It's not that the engagements aren't happening, but everybody is almost second-guessing every motion. Everybody's being very cautious about what territory they're taking, what they have to lock down here. It is a strategy. It's one that teams have played and been successful with before, but between these two teams, in the position that they are fighting on the leaderboard, and how valuable these points are, looking for that little bit extra, looking for that, I guess, the secret sauce. This is almost the game to pull it out on, right? When you're up against, let's be honest, the team that you have to beat.
And it's it for both these teams, right? Like, VP wants to end in the top 6. They need to beat Ence. Ence, they want to, you know, at least equalize or do better than what they did in the previous stage. Kind of forces them to continue their streak against Virtus.Pro. They're 5-0 up in this year so far. It would be a shame to not make it 6-0 today.
Drone is ready.
Getting their eyes.
Good info.
Yeah, I love that camera. Getting their eyes on the player. Just tucked inside the office side, holding onto the single wall. They're being zapped from somewhere. They're not quite sure where from. You can assume where that all comes through. There's a Twitch drone that couldn't quite get any utility, but the wall itself is still being popped open. They still gain that ground, have to pull their way back at least a bit. But again, look at the time being wasted here. They've almost structured their defenses. Yeah, this ball will fall. It draws their focus. We move on. Always trying to cut their way through the lobby. Oh, trying to cut their way close to another engagement. Do they know of the man on the other side of the beepers? Rykos might be ready to rock and roll, but remember, if he hits that swing, he's going to make a lot of noise.
Not aware of him because he moved very carelessly earlier as well, just putting his entire side over towards Custom's door. If the swing came out at that point, it would have been a free kill. So that is just Rykos holding, at least they have it always hostage, and then takes him out as soon as he moves out. And it's that the instant trade comes through, but that is just such a clean opening once more.
40 seconds. 40 seconds now for them to try and regain the territory. Always was trying to get locked in. They're still trying to fight above as well. As I said, they hit that office wall, but it was just sort of just a, yep, this is yours. Do it with a bit of work. Rykos does get caught out. Not entirely sure where from. I think it was the direct fight from the lobby side. Yep, you can see all the VP bodies just flooding their way in towards the site, but Ence has the vertical. They have the pings. Rykos somehow gets joystick. The dot got them back up, and it's just exploded. Virtus.Pro. What were they thinking? What were they paying attention to?
I think one person went over there to confirm the kill on Rykos, but at that time he actually got pushed back up by Stim, finds the instant kill. The verticality not taken, as you just saw. So they planned right underneath the opening. And that's just a recipe for disaster. They had a 2-man advantage at the moment they decided to go for the push. And technically it was a 4v2 on the site if they would have wanted to go for that, or a 4v1 even with one person above. It's just completely fallen apart out there. And now you find yourselves with the equalizing point. And where after the first 5 rounds it looked kind of bleak for Ence, and we're wondering, is this the end of the streak? Suddenly they equalize themselves. This is what I mean. Like, you should have had Ence out here. Why is he allowed to still be upstairs? You literally had someone there. Why is it not watched or checked before the plant gets attempted?
4 apiece at this point, and I don't know. You're trying to look for positives, right? You're trying to look for the ways that these teams can improve here, but it's just so much both caution being paid but mistakes being made, and there has to be one or the other, right? If you're going for that slow cook, if you're going for that things are in place, we have this pocket of land, you have to have the pocket of land, because he said there wasn't any lockdown on the top player. It was very much, charging in via lobby, getting the one player to go confirm alone and not quite having it. They didn't have the control of above there and security either. And, it just feels like the adaptations when things are going wrong aren't really there. Currently, the Twitch drone gets caught out, obviously gets one camera on its journey. But I just want Virtus.Pro to focus on a bit of terrain, see if they can get it under their control, and then go from there, rather than trying to piece it all together across the map, because it's not really working out for them.
No, and they're just making decisions without... They're trying to take too much first, and then they don't really have what they need. So it's like they're a bit wide. Is that everything, by the way, castled off between B and A? I'm not quite sure if I saw that. I think they locked off the entire small office area between detention and supply. Anyway, smoke canisters start popping. Pasha with Striker looking to get some grenades tossed in, but I believe we got the information that they've rotated around. There's about one close to the balcony. He's trying to bait his drone out there, I think. And as the rotate comes through, just misses the opportunity to get the kill onto Nako.
Drop down, takes a huge blow for it. They've been able to get themselves that little bit of an escape route, and can they try and make it? Turn into a bit of a revenge run. Obviously, they got the pick up before. Do they know about joystick? They've rotated their way around. No is the answer, and this time a kill is confirmed. No sneaky way back round. But still late, still a lot left to do. A bit of crime being committed there, or attempted to by the Bravo drone. I think it was shut down before it could steal that gate.
Yeah.
And here, I mean,
liked how we had the speed lines on Rykos, though, as he swapped from the drone boost to Rykos' POV.
He's so quick, so fast.
Standing still, he's so quick.
Where are you going here, Virtus.Pro? They have the pings on the players above the site. Rykos knocks them right back out. They're ready for the player that comes across towards the break door itself, but it's the swing on the door outside towards the balk that gets the kill. 40 seconds. Eyes still on the other side of the map. The second story of it, as Skies is causing problems around Fountain. He's not letting them move in. They also still have the player above Armory, and you're thinking, okay, Virtus.Pro, what can you do? Shepard's above the site. They could hit a hatch and get the kit down there quickly. They're making their kit player get the check, though. If they go down above, the round is pretty much done.
I'm not quite sure what they're trying to do. There's 15 seconds left. They're trying to come in horizontally now, and I believe that might have been... No, Shepard is still alive with 5 HP. Never mind, a double kill from Skies, who drops at the exact right moment. And Dan, now the last man standing with 3 seconds left, falls as well. And then suddenly it's 5-4, and I mean, you had the entry, you had the trade as soon as you lost one of your own. But again, what control do you have? There's 40 seconds left and they haven't even taken control fully yet of CCTV, checking it with their faces afterwards, only to make no use of it, rotate around, go horizontal and be sprayed down by the players that were still on the top floor and rotated down around that time as well.
It's a timeout called by VP here. So I probably didn't have to add that second detail. It's just not been good here. We talked about how Ence would probably improve when they go into the defense, and that is true. But VP, as I said, it didn't ever really feel like they had the momentum when they were on defense. They were winning rounds, sure, but it wasn't hugely convincing. It's even worse now we get to the attack. All of that has been brought to light. They are just struggling, and you know, the pressures of this game, the pressures of being able to beat a team, or maybe this is just the team that Ence love beating, being able to potentially push that, you know, map record from 5-0 to 6-0 today for Ence as an org across this year. It's well within it right now, and you know, you're just thinking everything is in the favor. VP, they look a bit lost.
They definitely do. And again, the first 5 rounds, it looked quite well on the VP side, but as soon as they're on the attack, they're somehow struggling with time management on a map that is as small as Border and should be a quick pace map. Usually things are about like 30 seconds to a minute quicker here for teams. But yet we're not seeing that. It's the same stuff here for VP. And Ence, you gotta commend them on their resilience there of bringing this back so far. Those 3 rounds in a row, even though they've been down in numbers here and there, they kept it calm. And this is exactly what they brought Ence in for, to keep these rookie players calm and collected. To make sure there's always like that cool head on the team that can make these calls even when things get hectic.
What was talked about in that timeout, and will it be able to change the pace here of what is otherwise turning into a little bit of a tragedy? Virtus.Pro, since they last won a round, is getting further and further away. But if you think about how this game would be structured if they started on attack, wow, it'll be a much more terrifying scoreline. They just have to try and lock in. They are not a million miles away right now. This first engagement,
a couple of centimeters away from being seen forward.
Yeah, he's trying to drift in. They have the pre-opened angle. It's a dangerous place to be in. It is a very nice lineup that drops it just inside. But as they drone out and get the quality control, the information, the little drone boosts, if you missed it in the patch, it was a bit of fun.
It's helped me escape a couple of times already, making sure my drone stays alive, so point is proven for the usefulness of that. Oh, there it is. Nitro popped. Not going to be able to find anything. I think if that was tossed like half a minute earlier, that would have been impactful, but more importantly, let's look at time. A minute 30 left on the clock. Is there any control already for the side of VP? No, I mean, they have someone on East. The rest is really outside. Neko does die, though. Inside of CCTV. That's a huge pick that gives them the opportunity to start taking break, to start taking CC, and start working, well, mostly just the armory side for now. As Joystick is looking to cut across, he's effectively trying to cut the map in half to give the rest of his team an opportunity to fight. They do have to make sure that they make use of this ground.
Oh, that was just well played there. They burn out the ADSs with the flashes, tuck the grenade in as well. I mean, at that point, there really was nowhere else they could go. I'm not sure if they intended to truly get the player with the grenade, just force the motion, just get the electrics on the wall, but they're going to take the net result. 5 versus 3, another Deimos target. You think about all the horrifying softs, and that's not even the one that they get. Joystick with the cover on a Ence. And this activation of Virtus.Pro is almost what we've been crying out for over the past few rounds. From a timeout to a flawless. What a response there from VP to get themselves level and stop the bleeding.
Yeah, the big difference there is everybody just pushed from the same direction. They took CC, they took break, and then they decided to go for office. They used that Deimos to get the ping, instantly getting the flashbangs of the grenade over, either guarantees you a kill or they are running away in fear. But if anything, the Demos can see that if that starts happening. And they all start pushing into office. They use the Demos, you know, a second member of Ence comes over to try and challenge, but oh, surprise, surprise, there is also a second player of VP and a third holding that angle that you were about to challenge. And that puts you over towards 5-5 now. They have that grenade. I mean, Demos knew that he was going to be stuck in there. Got that kill. Second beautiful one on Pasha. Not Pasha, sorry. Skies as well.
I think that's it, right? As you sort of said, they're attacked together. It's the point that I raised a round or two ago, is that they're going in very wide. They're trying to fish for these kills in these positions of power, but they don't quite have the confidence to back it up. Here, they grouped up. They just strong-armed their way from piece of territory to piece of territory. Instead of thinking like we've got this and we can move around, and Ence historically and frequently just rotating their way back in when the eyes are off the position, they removed the problem itself. They removed the Ence players. And, you know, Border does offer you the time to do that. Border offers you, you know, those rotations, those possibilities. It's a thin map. 5 apiece now. And it feels like a team has started to cook here. Can they try and get themselves on towards the end of it? They are, again, not a million miles away. Desperately want the 3 points. Neither of these teams wants to fall into pity points and part points. They want and need the full lockdown.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what makes this round so important, because that's going to be the team that has the one opportunity to fight for it. Reinforcement to come through. Seeing a player rotate at the back of the hallway as well, so a little bit of information here for VP to work on, but nothing too much. And what we saw in that last round as well, you know, the isolation of players was basically because Ence was unable to provide crossfires, to provide support, as they were dug in so deep into a room that there was only 2 angles they would be fired upon from, but those are being held by VP players. So if they can replicate that once more, isolate one of those players, use a bunch of flashbangs and grenades to take them out, together with a death mark, you can definitely leverage yourself like a 1 or 2 minute advantage before you actually go for the side itself.
Oh, a little bit out of range for that little bit of crime. And it keeps everything still standing. And, you know, we get later and later into this game. Look at them harvesting their way around, though. They're putting the pressure onto the triple wall, and the single wall player gets out of there. They're being tracked, so they make their own route as quick as possible. And it forces some motion. That was what Virtus.Pro, as I said, did excellently before. They didn't just shut down the space, the player, and they're still going to try and get that movement, get that momentum onto the back of it. They need to make a catch, and it has to be spelled out in blood that they're taking that corner of territory, and Alems is not going to hand it to them. Ence have learned that lesson as well. They realize that they can play this game, pull themselves away, let them have a little bit of a skirmish, but then drop the force, rotate it round, and utilize those things that I said can be offered to attackers are just as powerful in the pockets and play of the defenders. 30 seconds, and we finally see the first player dropped. Alems is gone. They didn't quite. I'm not sure if they were able to use their C4. There's a second, not a third, but a trade out does in fact happen. Drop right into the clutches in a 3 versus 2. 20 seconds.
Need to start pushing now. There is a hatch open. There is a window that could potentially go through, and a spot onto Rikus. More importantly, he's going to go prone. He thinks he knows exactly where they're coming from, and he has the right idea on one of them. And suddenly Shepard drops through the CCTV hatch, unable to actually get the kill, gets shut down. Ence find themselves round 11, and with that, find themselves on map and match point to try and make this 6 in a row against Virtus.Pro, being unbeaten.
Down to the wire. And the importance of this game, just as any, if not more so across anybody's throughout the league, when you're fighting towards the bottom against other teams that are fighting in that same area, you know, those teams that get that first step by in towards the qualifiers, the closed half, that is all that they're after at this point. That is the focus they want. They want the bit of extra time. They don't want to stop at the side of an impossible run. And in cases before, as we all know in Split 1, for one of these 2 teams, a single point was that difference maker. Ence for the ones sat on the wrong side of the split line. They know the importance of getting all three right now.
Yeah, they definitely want to get those full 3 points on the board now, especially with how the split has started and considering the fact they've already, you know, they still have that break game coming up, which is something they can really not afford as things currently are. There's only 6 more points for them to be gained after this, so taking the full 3 now will put them onto 10 if I'm correct, which again is the exact same as they had the last time around if they win those 2 remaining matches. But it could be just enough. Who knows? We don't. Like, it really depends on how to... Oh, good sap.
Drone fight.
Yeah, that's the Yokai gone. One of them at least. The other one is still in pocket for Azox. Probably going to keep it in pocket. No, never mind. I was going to say for a little bit
Really?
at least. But no.
It's up. It's moving. It's schmoving, and it's ready to do this game. It does leave it a little bit revealed if they go underneath and try and clear the space anyway. It might be a free pickup of utility, but maybe they're hoping and banking on the fact that Virtus.Pro have been a little bit directional recently. They've been trying to strive themselves in on territory, and they might not go for the intent clear, the pace that they otherwise played before. All the weight here on this round for Virtus.Pro, it almost puts even more pressure on that opening engagement, something they struggled with before.
It's also a minute 20 has already passed and they don't have any control yet. They're not inside of the building. They're only now looking to take break room under control. But there's 1 or 2 Ence players looking to stop that. So either this could go very well for the side of VP and they manage to find 2 clean openings and with that, able to snowball the rest of the round, or they're about to just get shut down out of the server and the win is going to be locked in for the side of Ence. Now this Deimos is going to be helping them because Neko is inside of CCTV being tracked, trying to walk out, but Skies comes in for support. Whoop. That's 1, that's 2, and exactly as I said, this is the fight that matters.
Still holding on to the ground. Shepard is able to find Skies, but Joystick feels surrounded. There's a swing close by that might come through from Neko as the drone reveals the position. He can't quite find a route out, and instead of sticking by, waiting for the execution, he tried to push. That puts it in an even hand, 3 versus 3. Now the Ash is suffering the bites of a Gumine in foot. Gets them down to about half. But staying just above that line of a single bullet being the popped end. 30 seconds. Virtus.Pro separate you from falling away from one of the most important fights you might find yourself making. You'd be pushed, well, nowhere yet.
Vertical.
But with Dan getting the vertical, 15 seconds, can they find this pocket, the slow creep, the slow bit of motion, the momentum that Ence need to start trying to lift off the bottom of the board is slowly drifting further away. It's all down to Rykos. Goes for the C4, goes for the connection, and he finds it. They have a second to pick it up, but they can't do it! The single C4 from underneath. It's almost a replication of how we've seen it won out before at the final round of the Manchester Major. Different teams, different stakes. Same result. Defenders get the win, and Ence, they find themselves crawling off the bottom of the EUL board and getting their first 3 points.
You saw it in the face of Joystick there as well as he ran over to the diffuser and pressed the button, but the timer ran out as he did. Just the pain that comes out of it. Just that C4, just enough to get that down, just enough to waste the time and to secure the 3 points in what has been a very scrappy game.
Well, talking about scrappy, let's throw it over to our scrappy desk.
Thank you very much there, Emmy. Yes, the Scrappy Desk is back to talk about the scrappy-do kind of game that we just got. Ence victorious, they gather a first win here in EUL and all 3 points. They're just throwing a spanner in everybody's works in the middle of the pack.
From start to finish, only one single word. Time.
Poor Jack.
Time. It's all about time. Even at the last round, 0.00.
Oh my.
It's just from start to finish.
Leo, pull your stats out about the time.
Bro, I have to say, we just went from the fastest paced border I've seen in a long time into the slower paced border that I've seen in a very long time. Now, if you want a funny stat, the first opening kill that you get in a round, the average on all of these rounds is in virtually 45 seconds later than the first game. It's huge.
That's crazy.
It's almost an entire minute slower than the first match that we've seen today.
On the smallest map in the pool as well. I think we did quite a good job of setting up the expectations that both of these teams were too slow. And then we're like, oh, they're on border. They're going to be a little bit faster. No, absolutely not. And, you know, without sounding too disrespectful, one of these teams had to win, but neither of these teams, particularly when they were on the attack, could attack for anything. You know, they're bringing wrong operator selections. I'm seeing a lot of Capital. I saw Thatcher, Ace, Nomad, like nothing that was like an initiator up. No Yings, no Deimos, no Dokkaebis, none of that. And that's why we were seeing such slow entries. There was nothing that the attackers could use to get themselves into the map, to take map control. That game was there for somebody just to take it by the bull of the horns and just go and win it. And Ence in the end limped over the line.
We barely saw a blitz. We barely saw a Dokkaebi. We barely saw the kind of operators that will get you in the building quickly. In so many of the rounds, we were like, okay, 50 seconds left. They've got E-stairs. What's the rest? They got into E-stairs. Yeah, great. What do you do?
When VP attacked customs, it was like they realized that the site was customs with 20 seconds to go.
In such a fast-paced game, you want a Nomad on your team, right?
No.
No, but that's the problem.
In one round, and the way that I look at the scene, and again, you know, kudos to Ence, they won. They managed to get themselves over the line because they got 2 rounds on the attack that they managed to win out of nowhere. I think ultimately was the difference. Out of the 12 rounds, I think the attackers, in my mind, controlled 1 round out of 11. And, you know, and on border of all maps.
That's what I was about to say. That's the most surprising thing. It's on border. I started in this pre-show by saying, yeah, they're going on border. It's one of the maps that should be heavily attacker-sided because the map is so small that you're forcing the defenders into finding gunfights early to try and win the round and then fall back. The problem is we didn't fight any gunfights early. Everybody was playing a turtle game. Everyone was playing Legion, Castle, Mute, Wall Denial. What's that kind of playstyle? Especially in a map that's small.
It was crazy.
So what I'm going to say is count your lucky stars that we did not get Lair or Labs or, God forbid, brought Theme Park back just for this matchup, or else we'd be here all damn night. And it was at the end a victory for Ence. However, if we did highlight a player, who would it be?
I think it was a big difference maker. I think it was the guy that used to lead this team and now has a different role. It's Skies. He was the guy that I highlighted before. I think this guy had a lot of potential in that team. I think he was one of the starest player last stage, and we were still waiting to see him perform. I remember a couple weeks ago, this guy was all the way at the bottom of the ratings. He was, I think, in the bottom 3, if I can recall well. I think he had the third worst rating in the league, and he just went from top 2, top 3 the last stage to that. And now he showed again why he was one of the best players in last stage. He showed the potential. He showed the fragging ability. He showed the shot calling ability as well. Because many of these rounds that they were able to be close or to actually win an attack, he was the one carrying the diffuser and going for that plant. I think Skies is probably one of the only guys that's really pulling this team together and is a great prospect in general for this team's hope into bringing more wins till the end of the stage.
Well, the end ends victorious. Thank you very much for that, Leo. But that means we have to talk to our winners. And look who's joining us tonight. Hey, it's LMs. Oh my God, it has been forever since you've been on here. What's going on? First of all, let's talk positively. Congratulations on the win. How does it feel to take a full 3 points today?
To be honest, it feels good. Finally, we got a win, so I'm very happy.
Whew. LMs, border. Why border against Virtus.Pro? Because I think the map, I would say, between both teams doesn't really seem to suit both teams' style of play.
If I be totally honest, this is not the map we planned to play them. Like it was not this map was not planned as first. I would say. So, but you know, it's the rules of the Vito map and stuff. So we had to go on that map. And the thing is, like, we knew how VP play. Like they have like a very hold play style. I would say they are very like methodical and slow. So everything we did today was trying to slow this down.
Is the fact that border was not expected, as you say, the reason why this game got really, really slow, because even for the attack, we saw like Nomad being part of the lineups pretty much all the time for both teams when the game ground to a halt regularly, and we didn't see anybody kind of maneuvering around the map and defense to need a Nomad to shut them down.
The thing is, like, Border is a small map, so like at the start the map is very attack sided. So obviously when you keep losing rounds in defense, the only possibility to start winning rounds is to get aggressive, and that's why a lot of people do like they play all maps on Border, like they play CC, they play Office, they play everywhere on the map. So it's very hard as an attacker to take control of this. That's why you need to bring those kind of operator like Nomad to control the rotation or the doors or things like this.
Just a general question about Ence and the season so far, Alems. Obviously, it's not gone so well. You know, it's just the first win now, and we're in play day 6. Why do you think that has been the case?
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Sorry, I was.
Yeah, no problem. So obviously, it's the first win now, but you know, you've lost all the games up to now. I suppose, what's your take on that? What's the reason for that?
To be honest, I think people forget that like the Ence core is really young players. They don't have any experience in T1 except from last season. So they just need to learn and to improve. They are like young players that need to be like people need to teach them. So thanks to the coaching staff and me, that's why they took me on the team, like to bring this experience on the team. And we are learning every day. And since the start of the season, right now we can only see improvements. So I guess we are working on the right way. Now the goal is to keep improving, and be better.
Absolutely, those 3 points definitely spell for it. But just to hammer that point on, you know, you're saying that experience and everything, but if we were to theorcraft for a moment, Wild is very much in that very similar setup as you, but the results are different with players that are very young and I would say even more inexperienced than in your case. So do you chalk it up to just it takes more time to make it work for you guys?
Yeah, maybe. I think it takes more time, and to be honest, the player in Wild, like for example Layton or even Croxon, they played a lot on like different region. Like Croxon played on a different region, I guess. So he has the experience of very good games. Layton, I know him. I play with him in Calories, and he's a very good player as well. He's hungry to win. After, it's all about mentality and stuff, of course. But I think for some people it takes more time. It depends, but the goal is to be better, and that's what we will try to do.
I mean, clearly the result speaks for itself. Today, Alems, a pleasure to have you on here with us. It's been a while, and hopefully we get to see you on the screen here with us more times in the future. Again, have a good night. Relax.
Good night.
Ence, again, congratulations on the win. But Jack, we have just hit the halfway mark. We still have 2 more games to go. And after the break, it's G2 versus Into the Breach.